This video contains spoilers. You've been warned. I've been using the internet since I was very young. Probably too young, but I think a lot of us have used it at an age we weren't supposed to as well, so water under the bridge. And one of the many things I was exposed to besides was early internet animations. We've heard all the buzz about indie animation's recent rise to fame, but the early 2000s, thanks to websites like Newgrounds and YouTube, was a golden age for animators on the internet. Not implying that there was a dark era, but there was undoubtedly a charm to these early works that, at the time, were made by one or two people. Now they've gone to either work with an entire team of artists, and or form a team to create a show of their own. Which should be a good transition to today's topic, object shows. At least I hope it's a good transition. I don't feel like rewriting this intro. Object shows have been around since the actual start of last decade, good god. And what started as a small fun project inspired by shows like Survivor and Total Drama Island has drawn an entire community of dedicated fans and even those who've made their own object shows. It's kinda insane actually. On paper, it just sounds ridiculous. And if I never encountered this community, I'd probably think the same way as you. But when you look into it, there is so much creativity and passion put into these shows, and it becomes clear that there's more to them than just the object competition premise. I failed to have sex, but she had 4 cats though. Today I want to look at 2 of the most recognized object shows that started it all, what made them so popular, and how they've contributed to the object show community's rapid rise. There's a lot of object shows considered popular, so I'm not gonna mention every single one of them, but if there's an object show you recommend, be sure to let me know in the comments. Interactions always help me get boosted in the algorithm after all, which I'd really appreciate considering I just moved into my new apartment in case you couldn't tell by the backdrop, and I gotta focus on paying rent while also spending hundreds of dollars on groceries every once in a while. I swear inflation is gonna be a death of me, man. Why are you asking me to pay $7.50 for a 12-ounce chicken salad? Are you seriously trying to fucking bankrupt me? How else am I gonna eat $20 worth of Culvers every week? Sorry, I forgot I was making a video about object shows for a second there. Subscribe to my membership if you have a buck to spare, please. Battle for Dream Island, or BFDI for short, was created by Carrie and Michael Hong. I'm not of the Jack and Jarify YouTube channel, and first premiered on the platform on January 1st, 2010. The idea was first conceived as 5th grade drawings of living objects that would eventually become a short comic series that would eventually lead to the main show itself. A group of 20 anthropomorphic objects, and David after episode 18, are put into a competition hosted by a speaker box voiced by AT&T Mike.
So we must settle this with a contest.
Wait, why does that sound... Oh no. Where after each challenge, a contestant is eliminated one by one, and the crowned champion wins the luxurious Dream Island. Oh my gosh, a Squid Game! I want to remind you that Carrie and Michael were writing, voice acting, and animating all of this at 12 to 14 years old. And the fact that it looks just as good as other early 2010 animations made by people mostly over the age of 18 is seriously impressive. Like, the season itself is nothing to get too crazy about, but it is carried by some creative challenges that keep you invested. So what made it stand out from the other competition shows is that it gave viewers the ability to vote out or save a contestant, giving the show a bit of interactivity. Battle for Dream Island again sees a noticeable improvement in quality. Not just in the animation, but there's also touch-ups in the voice acting and pacing as well, while sticking to the regular BFDI format and keeping its charm. I also find myself loving the new characters too. Ruby is such a goofball, I love her. It was at this point where the show was finally gaining steam. By the time BFDI A5 was complete, alongside a game to come with it, ooh, stream idea, the Jack and Jarify YouTube channel had amassed over 20,000 subscribers, and the first episode had surpassed over 1 million views. But a few weeks later, after the multi-part episode finished, Michael would make a video saying that due to school starting back up, the series would be taking a break. And with that, BFDI would go into hiatus mode for 3 whole years. If you're wondering why they couldn't just take the summer to work on some episodes, in March of 2014, YouTube decided to make the most YouTube decision ever and suspend Jack and Jarify's AdSense account for no f***ing reason. I mean, it's not the first time they tried to screw over Michael and Carrie for the lulz, but invalid activity, my god. It wouldn't be until after Michael released a video 2 years later explaining the whole situation that a random Google employee defied the capitalistic overlords trying to kill BFDI and reinstated the brother's AdSense account, meaning that after nearly 3 years of being left in the dark, fans were finally able to see BFDI continue. Sort of. Instead of the long-anticipated BFDI A6, September 1st, 2016 saw the start of a new season entirely, IDFB. IDFB departed from the recognized competition format and instead took a more slice-of-life approach with all the objects residing in Yoyo City and living daily regular lives. It only lasted 1 episode. for now. IDFB tends to be mixed amongst fans, mostly because of how out of nowhere it came when many thought it was going to be BFDI 6, and was a different direction from the usual format that made the premise so recognizable in the first place. Admittedly, I wasn't a fan when it first came out, but I've really grown to appreciate it more. I think what has made BFDI so great is its character chemistry and development, and while it's done very well in the competition format, setting these characters in a more slice-of-life setting gives the opportunity to explore them a lot more and see how they interact on a daily basis. I also see this as a point in which the show was starting to improve on its comedic writing. Not saying the earlier episodes weren't funny, far from it actually.
I think it's time to see what's really going on inside the so-called Leafy.
Yeah! Football!
But there are a lot more clever jokes and timing in the episode.
Match was a little too needy. Anyway, really? You never told me Match was needy before.
Unfortunately, IDFB was another victim of delays as Carrie and Michael entered college, but to make up for it, they released this cute little short featuring Blocky and Eraser. But little did people know that the backgrounds of where the short took place would be a sign of what was to come. Straight out of the blue, on November 3rd, 2017, over a year after the release of IDFB 1, Jack and Jellify premiered the 4th season of BFDI named Battle for Dream Island. Or BFB. And not only did we see an even more expanded cast, but also the brand new hosts, 4 and X, who many fans know were first seen in a very early animation created by Michael and Carrie at age 11 for a pre-algebra class project. Probably the biggest reference to her childhood years since Leafy doing the Blue Skidoo. You know, that might be another reason why most of the audience is children. Say, did you know 4 was one of the inspirations for Kane Digital Circus? It's crazy how different BFB is to the earlier seasons. Yeah, the competition was brought back, but the new animation style, the tone, and how even the older characters are written really makes it stand out from the rest of the show. It's also worth knowing that the series was now given an entire crew of artists, voice actors, as well as writers behind the scenes, and regardless of how you feel about it, seeing BFDI go from being made by 2 brothers to having an entire team is nothing short of astounding. As for the season itself, it's honestly BFDI at its best, don't kill me. Or to go further, everything post season 4. I feel like one of the things the later seasons are better at is its heart. While early BFDI also had moments meant to be taken seriously, they only last under a minute and are immediately followed up by a scene played for laughs most of the time. Yeah, BFDI is a comedy at heart, but it never felt like it had a moment to just lock in and give us a sincere moment between the characters. Post season 4 feels a lot more genuine with its character moments, and there's so much development that it kind of feels like a different show from before. From Taco's relationship with Tracy, Fire and Leafy reconciling over the events of season 1, Pen's frustration over constantly losing people, Pencil's PTSD from being eliminated, one just outright deleting people from existence, and the ending of the recent episode that's so messed up that it changed my mutual's mind on Grassy. I also really dig the new art style. The old one has its charm, sure, but it felt very limited with the reuse of Lemon facial assets. I shit you not, there are 2 entire subreddits where people post images of BFDI assets and characters being spotted, and guess who's on one of them, baby? The new one feels a lot more expressive and fresh thanks to all the eyes, mouths, hands, and legs being newly drawn for about every frame, especially when it comes to Algebraians. Hope I pronounced that right. And, not to sound like a broken record, these new seasons are so much funnier.
Well, 4 became a factor of 0, if you know what I mean.
Now, I'd be amiss if I didn't mention everything after they split up the cast, not including season 5, aka The Power of 2. A lot of fans don't seem to vibe with post-split BFB, and admittedly, I can see where people are coming from. They start up some character arcs like with Blocky, Taco, and Woody for example, and they show really good potential, but they're cut short due to the viewers voting certain characters out. And yeah, it can get pretty frustrating. I've yet to see a single person prove to me that the voting system is rigged though. I've also heard complaints of character flanderization and the jokes being less funny, which I don't agree with, but I can understand. Okay, but I really f***ing hate Purple Face, sorry. Even then, I still like these episodes. Well, I mostly prefer season 5, but I really don't mind post-split BFB, especially in the last few episodes where 4 is given more character depth. I'll let you take in the fact that 4 and X are roommates that have canonically known each other since around elementary school. I'm probably overthinking it. The Power of 2, meanwhile, is marginally better. I don't think it's as great as pre-split, but it manages to pump out some of the best episodes this entire series has to offer by a long shot. Not only referring to a recent episode 19, which, yeah, Jesus fuck. But episode 17 came out at a time where there was personal drama going on that I may or may not have mentioned before on this channel, and Pen's monologue to Pencil on holding on to memories of your former friends even if you aren't close to them anymore really hit close to home in a way I was not expecting. I also think 2 is my favorite host simply for how genuine he is around everyone, including his relationship with. He seems like the kind of guy you want to go out and have a drink with. You know, when he's not. As of this writing, Teapot is currently still running alongside BFDIA, funny enough. It's really impressive that they're running 2 seasons of the same show with different art styles at the same time, while also keeping the continuity intact. I can't imagine it being that easy though. Jack and Jellify has gained over 2 billion views on YouTube, and to say it's deserved would be an understatement. Battle for Dream Island as a whole can be pretty flawed, but maybe it's just my nostalgia goggles blinding me here, but it might just be at least one of my favorite indie animated shows on the internet right now. I just love these characters so much, and I can't really bring myself to be harsh on it. Bella's canonically bi because I said so. Deal with it. And not to flex, but Pokey watched one of my videos. Inanimate Insanity, created by Adam Katz, debuted during the time when BFDI was just starting to gain more momentum. Season 1 was not really noteworthy as it was pretty much the same as BFDI but with different characters and an uglier art style in the first 2 episodes. Okay, but the fact they got Chris McLean's actual voice actor to voice Mifo in the pilot is insane to me. Like, how does that even happen? But then we get to season 2, and while it's not much different for the first 8 episodes, when it reaches episode 9, whoa, what the hell is going on? Why is the British Mexican food back? I mean, the competition is still there, but Inanimate Insanity starts to become more heavy on its character drama. I still remember how 12-year-old me hated this new direction the show was taking because I was so used to the competition aspect, and I said out loud in the comments that I would be unsubscribing from Animation Epic until they take the show back to its— what the actual hell was I huffing? The decision to make II more story-driven and have the competition take a back seat is a really genius choice. It helps it stand on its own 2 legs rather than being just another copy and paste object show. And as much as it sounds disappointing they cut the viewer voting midway through, letting the contestants vote doesn't get in the way of any developed arcs and actually provide some more stakes to the characters. The show even provides a commentary on competition shows in general and how exploitive they are, plus all of the damaged relationships caused. Not that it has never been seen before, but II nails it right at home that competition shows are inherently toxic. Which brings me to Inanimate Insanity 2, the movie. The twists in this one generally took me aback on my first viewing. As much as I don't like being spoiled, I wish I had known season 3 took place in between season 2's long as hell hiatus before binging in season order. Oh, and by the way, I really do enjoy season 3, Bot is a trans icon. I also forgot to mention that the show has musical numbers. Keep on Cleaning, A Party, and Just Like Me were okay-ish, but not really my cup of tea. After Life in the Limelight is a hauntingly beautiful ballad about wondering if all the fun, the challenges, and prizes are worth it when it's damaging relationships left and right. The Future is So Yesterday, II, and Karma Waits really slap. Make Your Own Reality feels like the kind of song I'd have on repeat on my Spotify playlist. Wait, I don't use Spotify. And Taco's Tirade— how is this better than 2 of the villain songs Disney has put out recently? For a second, I could have sworn it was written by Lin-Manuel Miranda or something. Probably not a comparison, but if you listen, you'll get what I mean. It actually goes so hard. Season 4 also opens up with Welcome to the OSC. Ah, I see what you did there. And it's also pretty good. I think you'll like it if you're into ragtime-like melodies. The one thing holding me back from calling the show perfect, however, is that it has somewhat of a pacing problem. Yeah, most original Miichi critique. Never heard before. II's pacing is consistent to a fault. As while it does work when it's being funny, it interferes whenever there's a dramatic moment happening. They're genuine and well acted, but almost like BFDI, it feels like they're moving by too quickly in a way it feels like they're rushing to get on with it. For example, in season 2 episode 8, Cheesy comes out of nowhere and insults Microphone as a joke, but when Microphone snaps at him and calls him out, he goes on a monologue after his elimination about realizing the negative impact some of his jokes have had on others. It's a mostly well written scene, but it comes way too out of the blue to be taken seriously. I mean, there have been episodes where the others were telling Cheesy off, but I feel like something of this nature should be explored in a few episodes beforehand rather than being shoehorned into the beginning. Not to mention, Cheesy never really apologizes, just saying that he's done harm and he should go back to doing commercials. And this kind of problem sadly persists through the movie as well. Scenes like Lightbulb's quote-unquote death are paced too quickly and it really deters it away from the impact it deserves. But maybe it's just me. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from season 4 so far, as it manages to shake things up while also keeping it familiar. And I'm really looking forward to see what they do with Poppy since, well, you know. Oh, if only. Also, Pinto, can you stop sneaking yourself into this goddamn show? You are not Nickel. II isn't nearly as popular as BFDI, and that's a shame because I think it's a really well-written show with great execution and character moments. I really hope it rises to more popularity in the same way BFDI has. Like, the shows have been touring together with the most obnoxious audience that cheers every millisecond as if it's Avengers Endgame, so it could be possible. You know, it's a good thing I stopped myself from mentioning how much I love and relate to Paintbrush, because if I did, this video would take longer than it already has. The object show community itself is very complicated to talk about. They produce a lot of very good shows that are still running and commonly talked about, but at the same time, there are too many to count that got cut short or just straight up forgotten, the latter being a very common problem within the community. I think something to understand is that a lot of people in the community are very young, in many cases under 18 young. Creating shows like these take a lot of time and effort, and either because of the amount of stress it can cause or personal life getting in the way, the motivation to continue is lost. It's annoying to see this keep happening, yes, but I come some slack because a lot of people try to start up a cartoon only for it to not work out. It's hard for a lot of creators to stay motivated when not only are there too much bigger object shows than theirs, but a lot of them can just be described as another BFDI but with the objects swapped out. However, there have been a few object shows that manage to either shake up the formula or do something entirely different. If you want to watch an object show that does something a lot more unique, here are a few of my recommendations. It's Time for That, created by Derpadden, another competition, but mostly relies on random humor, and your enjoyment of it depends on if you find that kind of stuff funny. It doesn't seem to have much character development, aside from Clock. But it does look to have an interesting story going on, plus some of the music sounds like samples ripped straight out of a Tyler the Creator album. 1, created by Isaac Hall of Cheesy HFJ. Again, another competition, but this is a lot darker than the typical object show, and provides a surprising amount of lore. It can still be a fun watch, but note that there are many parts of the show that are a lot to take in. The Nightly Manor, created by Alan Lee of Animations. I'm a bit of a sucker for murder mysteries, so of course I recommend this one. Haven't gotten far yet, but I hear somewhere in the middle it gets emotionally rough. And lastly, Love of the Same, created by Miles. Okay, I'll admit I haven't actually watched it yet, but from the bits I've seen, it looks to have a premise of life and death, which could be interesting. So, I think I've said what I wanted to say. If you think I'm gonna mention other parts of the community, then you're looking at the wrong video. Don't know how else to end this because this is already taking too long, but object shows are cool. As long as BFDI and Inanimate Insanity are still around, the object show community is going to continue to grow. Don't let what I've said about the cancellations discourage you from making your own object show though. Make it however you want it to be, and if it's not perfect, that's fine. More reason to keep on improving as you go. Though, it's also understandable if you feel burnout. In the end, these things are still gonna get made, and I don't mind at all. Who knows? Maybe one of them could be the next BFDI or Inanimate Insanity. Just maybe. I should probably upload this video and try to finish Tamagotchi Plaza or something so I can make that review. Maybe I'll record it before I get my wisdom teeth pulled in 2 weeks. Fun. Until next time, I'm Miyachi. See you later, Tama friends.